Hi, thank you for joining me on New Year's Eve. I am here making a pot of black-eyed peas for a party that I'm going to tomorrow on New Year's Day. And I want to read you something. First, I want to introduce you to somebody. Oh, look at that pretty face. That is Jenne, and I may not be pronouncing that right. There's a little oomph at the end of the E, Claiborne. And this is her book, Sweet Potato Soul. And look what I'm making from her book, Black-Eyed Peas. So this is Southern. As a matter of fact, 100 easy recipes, Southern flavors of smoke, sugar, spice, and soul. All right, let's do this. She begins the recipe with a 1/4 cup of oil. I don't use oil in my cooking. So I am foregoing the oil, and I'm going to start with the chopped onion, and I've doubled the recipe. My feeling is if I'm going to cook, I'm going to cook worth the mess and save myself having to make it again sooner than later. So I prefer to double or triple almost everything. I wasn't sure if my pan would have taken triple or I would have done that. So I'm beginning with onion. This is so simple. You won't believe how simple it is. She also has a recipe in there for skillet cornbread. Doesn't that sound great? And she says if you're going to have some black-eyed peas, have cornbread with it. Well, let me read something to you. One you should never skip. I'll let this dry saute, and what's happening is onion, as opposed to, let's say, leek or shallot, has a lot of moisture in it. And it will basically weep well enough. So I'm going to let this weep for a couple of minutes, and then I'm going to add the celery. And so I'll read this to you. One should never skip a plate of black-eyed peas and collards on New Year's Day. And that's what this host of ours, of mine, my husband and I are going, a number of friends, tomorrow, is making, but they are not plant-based. Being plant-based, I want the same dish, so I'm bringing my own. I do that a lot, and it's enough for everybody. Okay, back to that sentence. You should never skip a plate of black-eyed peas and collards on New Year's Day. According to Southern lore, eating black-eyed peas on the first day of the year brings luck in the coming year. Some folks will cook their pot of beans with a penny or a dime, and whoever gets the bowl with a metal jewel is said to have the best luck for of all for the coming year. This tradition has a fascinating and surprising origin. Sephardic Jewish people who ate black-eyed peas during Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year, brought the tradition to the America South in the 1700s. Though black-eyed peas were first cultivated in West Africa and probably made their way to the United States on board slave vessels, this legume has been widely used in Egypt and the Middle East for centuries. Depending on how wet you like it, you will put in the water or the broth that you choose, and we'll talk about that. So my onion is already becoming translucent. I'm going to add to that chopped celery and chopped red bell pepper. I want to show you something that makes all of this chopping easy. I love it when I get a consistent chop, and my best tool is the Vidalia Chop Wizard. Are you familiar with this? I needed to chop 3 onions. That's what that was. Let me let this cook and weep while I talk to you. And 3 onions, 2 big bell peppers, and I think the celery was about 6 stalks of celery. And remember, I've doubled this recipe. So this is how easy it was to cook the onion. I peeled it by slicing it in half and taking off the skin and slicing it from stem to stern. What would that be? From the stalks down to the roots. And I put one piece at a time. And so actually what you saw was not 3, it was 2, because I'm showing you the other. And this is how quickly, are you going to be able to see it? I'm going to push this aside. Let me get this burner on so that I don't miss a beat. And this is how easily I was able to chop that. That was a slice, boom, whoops. I shot out the other slices for my glass. That's how quickly I was able to do it. With the bell pepper, that was the best part of all. Because bell pepper, you have these curvy pieces. How do you do that and get a nice even dice? I cut one side, cut the other, simply put each side in here one at a time, boom, and it cubed them beautifully. And then what was left, this little piece that would have been about like that, I cut in half and boom, boom. And I was able to get all of this diced in moments. Secret, be careful with your watches, because at one point, I did that with this watch. It's a self-winding watch, and totally messed up the gears. I had to go in and have the watch reworked, which was not inexpensive. So now when I do this, you notice I changed hands from the first whack. Now when I do it with the watch off. Okay, so back to here. All right, so we're softening the vegetables. I just added this additional onion. It's going to be okay. And I'm going to soften them a little bit, and while that's happening, I'll tell you what I'm going to put in. I'm going to be adding jalapeno. I wonder if I could put that in right now. Oh, sure, why not? So the jalapeno, I went out to my garden and picked. I live in Southern California. This is December 31st, New Year's Eve day. And I picked it. I went out to my garden and I picked bay leaf. You know, you can do that. You can go to the nursery and ask for even a gallon pot. This is what happens to me. Excuse me. Oh my goodness. Oh. My throat just closed up. Well, that wasn't pretty. That happened from the jalapeno. And this is what I was going to say about it. When I chop this, I've learned to put on a latex glove. So I have a box of latex gloves, or you could use the neoprene for things like peeling beets, because the beets turn my hands red, and the nails, and for chopping jalapeno, because I have experienced that even after I wash my hands, much later in the day, my skin will start burning, or I'll touch my eye to scratch it, and I'll get some of the heat in there. I think that the resins or something of the pepper kind of work into our skin. Well, that was amazing. I chopped it and I felt a little of that tickle, but as soon as it hit the pot, and that's kind of what we do to express flavors, dry sauteing or wet sauteing, to just pull out flavor when we begin a dish. It's like toasting spices first. Speaking of spices, I'm going to add the bay leaves, but I'll finish my story. You can go to a nursery. Oh, that's right. I was telling you that before. I almost choked to death. So you can go to a nursery and ask for a 1-gallon pot, or you can ask for a 5-gallon of Laurus nobilis. Laurus is the genus, nobilis is the species of the bay leaf tree. Now I've got to warn you, it is a tree. It will get 40 by 40, 60 by 60, but I have mine right outside my kitchen window. I saw it go around, and I keep it cut as a bush. So if you're going to put it in near your house, and you don't want a tree, keep it cut. And you can just keep cutting it back and cutting it back. But I can go out and get fresh bay leaf. I kind of crinkle it a little bit. And I'm adding to this some garlic. I pre-roast my garlic. I buy 1.5 pounds at Costco of peeled organic garlic. And I roast it per Tammy of Nutmeg Notebook's instructions. And then I put it into ice cube trays that hold 2 tablespoons each. Tavolo makes a nice silicone one. And all of these are on my Amazon. You can go to my Amazon link and all of that's there. And I can have these, after they're roasted per her instructions, I have maybe 12 to 15 cloves in one of those little 2 tablespoon ice cube shapes that I then put in a 1 quart Ziploc bag. And I can simply go out and get those the cubes from the bag, put it in a covered container, leave it in the refrigerator, and that's how quickly I was able to add this 9 cloves of garlic to this dish. What else do I want to do? While I'm talking, I think I should get this ready because we're going to have this for dinner tonight, and then we're going to have it at their house tomorrow. So again, I doubled the recipe. I bought black-eyed peas. They're pretty small, organic, at one of our natural food stores. It's bulk, but they pre-package it for you. I soaked it overnight. I like soaking my beans. They're a little less gas producing, a little more easily digestible. And this was 2 pounds. So this is about 1.5 pounds. So I only had 1/2 pound more at the beginning of the soaking, and this is what I got out of it. Yeah, I couldn't have tripled it in this pot. I would have had to use another pot. I'm mixing all the vegetables in well. This is so pretty. Can you see that? And this is it. This is her recipe. And then she calls for 6 cups of broth. Well, yesterday, I took the 1 gallon bag that I keep in my freezer drawer and throw all my scraps in. The back ends of green onion, the stems of zucchini, bunches of parsley and cilantro when I get new bunches. Carrot. When I peel carrot, if I want peeled carrot because it looks better than not peeled for a crudité plate. Anyway, on and on. And I even have a video on what I call nearly free stock because it kind of is. All that goes into the freezer, and I pulled that out, and in this pot made an entire pot of stock. That is 1/2 gallon of it from yesterday, and 1/2 gallon is 8 cups, right? A gallon is 4 quarts. This 1/2 gallon is 2 quarts. 4 cups and a quart, 8 cups. So that was 8 cups. The recipe has been doubled. She called for 6, so I want 12, right? 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. This is another 4 cups. And this is how I would store it. I would put it in these little Ziploc freezer containers and package them in there and keep them in the freezer, labeled vegetable stock. And they're organic because all my vegetables are. And this is it. I'm going to bring this to a boil. Ooh, it's just in time for my husband. He's standing at the door like, can I come in? Hi, honey. I'm going to bring this to a boil, cover it, simmer it for about 40 minutes. All beans are different. If these were older beans, they may be tougher and it may take longer. We'll see. But the recipe says 40 minutes, and you'll see the stock thicken some. Some people like their beans less wet, and some people, but I like it just, I made it before, not her recipe, but I've made it before very similarly, and I like it just like this. And then when we go tomorrow, I'll bring my pot of beans, and she's serving rice. So you get rice, beans, collards, very southern. And I'm gonna finish this, and I'll come back on and do it with some tamari or soy sauce, with a little bit of cayenne, but I'm gonna taste first. Those jalapenos were really strong. We'll see how hot they make it. And I'm using a little bit of liquid smoke, much less than she called for. And I'm going to use some, oh, you know what? I want to put those in now. Some thyme and oregano and black pepper. So let me get that part in. And it's the smoke and the cayenne that I'll taste for and add. That's it. Isn't this easy? And yes, if you're thinking, gosh, but if you're making all of this, can you freeze the beans? Yes. And when you have broth, I think they freeze even better because they're protected by the broth in the freezer. And I'll be back. I'll show you what I have just before we eat it. And I want to thank you for staying with me. I'll talk to you in just a bit. All right, bye-bye. Hi, well, this is it. The beans are finished. They are in a sort of a soupy broth. I could have cooked it down to thicken it more and to reduce it. But I'm going to wait until tomorrow because I'm going to heat this up before I bring it with me to the get-together, our New Year's Day get-together, where the host will have the rice and the collards. And let me just show you what this looks like when it's served. You have the beans, and I like them very brothy. We have some rice. Oops. And, oh, you know what I didn't do, but I'm not going to put these beans back in. Let me finish the dish and then I'll show you. We use smoky paprika. I'm going to take out the 2 bay leaves that I put in. And for additional, I'll say salt, rather than using salt, I have, and to add some umami, I have tamari, and I have just a bit of liquid smoke. Some people use this, some people don't. I saw no reason not to. And the recipe for 1 serving called for, gosh, was it 1 tablespoon? Yes, 1 tablespoon. I used 2 teaspoons for the doubled recipe. So here's my beans. Let me taste this. Oh, that the smokiness really matters. The smoky paprika and the liquid smoke. This one doesn't have it. Oh, I can put a little bit on here. And I would eat this in a bowl. I like a flat bowl. And I could have put some parsley or cilantro on it just to add some green, but I think you got the idea. And, classic beans and rice, but with a southern flair rather than a Latin flair. Just delicious. We didn't end up having this tonight. I ended up doing something else because I didn't have the collards and nothing was ready in time, and so we just ate something else. But can't wait for this tomorrow. Can't wait to share it. I hope you got something out of it. Let's all thank Jenne Claiborne, our Claiborne, and Sweet Potato Soul. Super cool book. I love it. Have a great day. I know I'm going to subscribe, share the video, and give me a thumbs up, and we'll see more and more of these things. Bye-bye.